What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Today we have a very special day. You guys have asked for it over and over and over again, so I've decided to finally get over here to the shop and do it. Today we're going to be doing a build breakdown of the Tyler Berry drifting machine. I'm excited to share with you guys exactly what's gone into the car, how much time we've put in it, what we've done to make it the way it is, and hopefully you guys can grasp this stuff as a car builder or a driver and maybe turn it into your own. That is, if you have an E36 chassis and some of this stuff could work for you. So I'm not sure exactly what you guys wanted to see when you were asking for the build breakdown, but I'm gonna go through exactly what I know, and if I leave some bits and pieces out, I'm sure I'll get to them at a later date in another video, but I'm gonna go over exactly what I know and we'll go from there. So we can start on the outside. Just right off the bat, the red wheels hit you right in the face. So the red wheels are actually BMW wheels. They're called M Parallels. They came off of a 5 series or a 7 series with an M package. These are actually one of my favorite style wheels that BMW came out with. They're aggressive. The styling is awesome. It doesn't look outdated. It looks kind of new and I like it. It fits this car really well. I'm very, very upset about my paint, but when you're changing tires 6 times a day, when you're at the track, it's hard to keep paint on the edge of your wheels. So, but anyway, so we've got an 18 by 9.5 in the rear and an 18 by 8.5 in the front, I believe. But yeah, so that's what I've got as the wheel setup. The front is wrapped with a 225/40 18 on the tire, and the rear right now we're running 245/40 18s, and hopefully maybe by next year we can start upping the size a little bit to a 255 or 265, start running those. But right now 245s are my cheapest option and I still get plenty of grip with a 245. We were running about 20-25 psi in the rears on normal drift days, so we get plenty of grip. So another big thing you guys can see right off the bat is the fender flares. These fender flares were on Click Tuning. That's how it's spelled, and that's their website. They had super good reviews from what I could see. You know, people had been bashing them and they stayed together, and this company actually started making over fenders, which I was really interested in because they're so durable. But I actually recently landed a partnership with Big Duck Club. So as soon as we start the build for next season for the competition rounds, Big Duck Club fenders are going on this thing. We're gonna do their over fender kit, front and rear, and we may do the whole rear kit, the actual quarter kit. So basically the whole back of the car will be cut out and this will replace the back of the car. Depends on what funds are looking like and what time's looking like, but we'll get there. Also from Click Tuning, we have this Rocket Bunny wing. Again, it was a really, really good deal. This company's out of Latvia, but their pricing is really good. So I decided to jump on this wing. It's really durable, super lightweight, and it was really easy to put on. You know, I had to rivet it, of course, and drill the holes for that, but that wasn't hard at all. That will probably stay even through next year after I do the over fenders, because that is one of my favorite things of the car. I've always been a fan of the Rocket Bunny wings, so to have one on my car, it tops the cake. It's awesome. And that's really the only aesthetic mods that I have done to this car, other than these hood louvers, which we recently put in there just to kind of bring some heat out of the engine bay. But other than that, everything else is pretty stock. I do plan on going M3 front bumper with this car just because of it looks so much better, and I think it's going to create a little bit more space for the intercooler. Headlights is about the only other thing I'm going to do before next year, but other than that, the car is pretty stock as far as bodywork goes and aesthetics on the outside. Now we move to the inside. When you first get in, you are greeted with these gorgeous Corbeau Forza Sport seats. These were purchased not only because they were one of the cheapest seats I could find for the pair, but they are also FIA approved until 2021 or 2020. So we have plenty of time to get some Pro-Am competition in these seats, which is why I bought them. They were actually the last set to come off the shelves at Corbo. I ordered them through Injuku Racing. Thank you guys so much for hooking me up with these seats. They were the last set, like I said, that came off the shelf. So I got really lucky and pulled the trigger at the right time for the right seats. Also, we have Tanaka 5-point harnesses. There's one that goes through the center here, but it's down under the seat. These were a gift to me by my precious fiance. She got them for me for Christmas because she knew that I was wanting to compete. And what's great about these is they're SFI approved. So these are until June 2019, which is next year, but I'll have a little bit of time to get some new ones if needed. Next, we have in the interior a D&D Performance Interior steering wheel with the red stitching and red stripe. This steering wheel is the second steering wheel that's been in this car, and this one by far takes the win as far as comfort and styling as well as durability. I've got this steering wheel coupled to a D&D Performance Interior quick release. It's a spline quick release, so that stays there, and then whenever you're ready to hit the track, you just click that in there and it's locked, good to go. In order to run this setup, I actually had to have a NRG short hub. Otherwise, the steering wheel was going to be super close to me. Like whenever I had the Momo hub, the steering wheel was probably like right here. And I don't want to drive like this. That's not going to be fun. For a hydro, we have an ASD hydro. It does not have its own reservoir. It actually ties straight into the stock brake lines from here. It goes back behind the seat, down through there, and it goes into a T that links off to each side of the chassis and goes to each caliper. This handbrake was a great choice. It's the only one that's been in the car, and I've had no trouble at all with it. I have had friends that have had the eBay handbrakes, and they've had absolutely no luck with them. I don't know if it's the cylinder that they come with or what, but they were just super soft. And I even had one friend that grabbed a Willwood cylinder and put on his eBay one, and it still didn't work right. It was just really soft. And as you can see from mine, that's all the play I've got. That's full lock, and the wheels are locked. His would literally come all the way back to here before it even tried to lock. And me not being used to it, it was not a fun experience, but once you get in this car and do it after that, it's so much easier to drive. As for a shifter, we have an AKG short shift kit. This is made especially for an E36. It feels awesome. You know, you can literally feel it go into gear, and that's exactly what I want. That way I don't think I shifted, but it actually didn't hit a gear. So that's been a lot of help. I'm sure you're wondering what this bracket is for. I did have this handbrake over here when I first started drifting, just because I thought it would give me some more room for my hands. But I soon realized that when I would go to grab the handbrake, I would sometimes hit the shifter and either knock it out or just stub my fingers. So I was tired of doing that. Whereas if it's right here, even with the camera, if I'm driving and my hands are here, it's in my peripheral vision, so I can reach over and grab it. There is enough room there. I don't hit my hands ever. So, I mean, even when I'm like spastically throwing my hands around, I still don't hit it. So it's not been a problem. I had someone weld another bracket just like this one over to here and then moved it, and I love this setup so much better. I know it's close to the steering wheel, but it's just, like I said, so much easier to just reach over just for a split second and grab it, and then your hand is right back on the wheel. These gauges, I'll go ahead and turn these on for you. So this is going to be my boost controller. This boost controller is a Turbo Smart eBoost 2 electronic boost controller. What's cool about this is it has 5 different settings. So I can basically switch my boost levels through 5 different settings while I'm driving. That's awesome for, you know, different tracks require the wastegate to open a little differently and pull the boost a little quicker. So we've got a couple different settings on there, and I've got one that works just perfect for me for most every track, and that's one I normally use, but we have those extras in there for backup. This is my air fuel gauge. Of course it's not reading right now because the car is not on. This is my water temp gauge. This is my oil temp gauge, and this is my oil pressure gauge. All these are controlled by these switches. That controls the gauges, and then this one actually controls the fan for the engine. So I think that pretty much does it for the interior of the car. You know, I've got a fire extinguisher, which is actually required now in East 10 Drift series. So that's about it for the interior. Eventually, hopefully by this winter, we're gonna have a cage in here, and it's gonna bring the interior to life. I'm so excited. It's gonna make that even harder to get out of. Next, we're gonna pop the hood for you guys and kind of show you what's under the hood. All right, so now for the powerhouse of the machine, the heart, the soul. I believe this is probably gonna be the most important part to you guys. It's definitely come a long way since we first started. When we first started drifting, I will show you what we were working with. We were working with this ugly thing. This is an M50 engine, which came in the car stock. M50s were like pre-96 engines that came in the non-M cars. I know it's kind of confusing. M cars actually have an S-coated engine, and the non-M cars actually had an M-coated engine. So the M50 is what came in the car factory. We have basically upgraded it to an M52, which came in the 96 up to a 99. Basically an M52 bottom end, M52 top end, and then we added some M3 parts to it out of the S52. We added an S52 crank, we added the S52 Eagle rods, and then S52 cams. Then we have M54 pistons, which came out of a 3-liter engine from BMW. We basically had to do this because the stroke that we had and the bore diameter would not allow us to run S52 pistons. We would have had to bore the cylinders out in order to run those. So we could stay with the same diameter, we ran M54 pistons. They're a little smaller in diameter, and they would still be able to be used with the rods and crank that we were using. So basically, altogether, this engine, from what I have researched, I could be totally wrong. I'm 99% sure this engine would be classified as a 3.1 stroker. From all, like I said, from all the research I've done, that's the numbers I've come up with. I've done calculations on the internet, and that's what I've come up with. It's a 3.1. Alright guys, so as we jump into this, the first thing you notice is, what is this long pipe coming off the intake manifold and off the throttle body? This pipe goes to the intercooler, which is up here. This is going to act as our cold side. So basically that runs to the throttle body, and this is what replaces our factory MAF. This is what gives the car the tune that it has. So TRM Tuning has sent me a chip to work for an OBD1 tuning system, and that MAF reads what's coming in and it adjusts the fuel to whatever it needs to run properly with that amount of air coming in. Over here we also have a Moroso oil catch can, if that's how you pronounce that. We added this just so we're not venting to the atmosphere and blowing oil everywhere. I don't know that there's a whole lot that comes through there, just because the engine's so new and everything, but it's there in case, and it doesn't hurt a bit to have that. Also, we added an oil cooler. So basically, this is the oil filter housing. These lines, one is a return and one is a feed line, and they go through the holes in the chassis there, and they run to this oil cooler behind the grill. You can't really see it because it's black, but there's an oil cooler in there, and then it recirculates, and that's what cools it. Another thing you guys have probably noticed is the BC coilovers. I'm running BC BR coilovers. We'll show you those when we get to the bottom half of the car. But these plates here are SLR plates. SLR is the angle kit that I'm using. They sent me these plates as a way to get rid of all of the negative camber that comes with the angle kit. So basically, if I would not have used these plates, I would be running probably -8 or 9 degrees of camber. What these do is, so the factory holes are still retained, they offset it to allow more positive camber. So now I'm running about -4 degrees of camber, and we're still not adjusted all the way out. We still have plenty of room to work with it. On the top hats that were sent with the BC coilovers, we did not have that much maneuverability. Like I said, we would have probably been topped out at about -8 degrees of camber, maybe a little less, but that's what those are for. The only other thing that's changed up here is, why is this filter here when it's supposed to be over there? I'm not sure if you can see it down there, but there is a exhaust manifold, and on the bottom of it is a nice Garrett GT 3076R turbo. So this is where they've put the intake, and from what I've seen, I don't think we have a problem with pulling in a lot of hot air. I would say there definitely is some hot air, but with the fans that we have and all the air moving through the front, it sees plenty of cool air. All in all, I'm super thrilled with this build. It's been a great learning process for me. I've never built a turbo car. I've never built a car from bottom to top and saw the process happen. My dad and I worked on this for a couple months and finally got it knocked out, and the reward is just amazing. The car runs flawlessly now. We had to work a few bugs out. We took it to the dyno to see what our numbers were. We put it on the dyno, and he made a couple of passes, and as the boost shot up, it started spiking and leaning out. So we adjusted the numbers on the boost controller and still couldn't get it to work right, unless we were just under no boost at all. So what we had to do was upgrade the fuel pump. The fuel pump was a stock fuel pump, and we upgraded to Walbro 450. So that solved all of our issues. After that, there was no more leaning out. As far as engine management goes, we are just running the factory ECU with a chip in it from TRM Tuning that accounts for the use of a MAF, and it's a really simple way to get a decent tune. It's not going to be as spot on as if you were to take your car and have it dyno tuned with a standalone system, but it definitely gets the job done for what we're doing, and it eliminates having to spend thousands of dollars on a computer to tune. So that was our best way to go with that if we wanted to run OBD1, which is what we're doing. And I think that about does it for underneath the hood of the car. I'm trying to think of other things that I may be forgetting, and I'm sure there are plenty of things that I'm forgetting, but that is about all I can see just right off. So let's step underneath the car and see what we have underneath. So underneath the car, we don't have a whole lot of mods underneath the car. We just did the necessary mods in order to get this car drift prepped and ready to go. So starting with the front, the first thing you run into when you come into the front, of course, is your intercooler piping and a UUC sway bar. This UUC sway bar was just purchased as kind of an upgrade. Wasn't necessarily needed, we just decided to do it. They were running a special, so we bought these sway bars. Next thing you see is going to be the SLR kit. The SLR kit is an angle kit, and this kit that I have is called the Ultra Angle kit. And this is the top of the line kit that they sell. This one's gonna give you the most angle. The transmission is an M3 transmission out of an E36 M3. It is the ZF 5-speed. I've heard that it's not really any different than the Getrag, other than it's a little bit beefier inside. The gear ratios are almost the same. It feels the same, but it's a little beefier. So with what we're doing, I decided to just run with that one. And on to the rear of the car, we have these adjustable rear control arms. Those are SPC. Ordered those off of eBay. You've seen I have braided lines for the brakes. My very first event ever, we went out for like our second or third run, pulled the e-brake and popped a line. It busted and I had no brakes, so we had to go find a line and make it work. And since then we have discovered that putting these lines on will prevent that from happening again, ever, hopefully. Also back here you can see that I have BC coilovers. I also have them in the front. I've ran 3 sets of BCs on my cars now, and I could not be happier. One thing with a drift car that you definitely want is bald tires. Bald tires help you slide a little bit easier. You got to make sure that you get a little bit of cord showing. That actually adds to your style points. So I think I got all the life out of these that I could, and as you can see, it wore almost even all the way across. We had a little bit of negative camber, but we have this car set up to, when it's sitting still, we are running a little bit of positive camber. And the reason why we do this is when we put it under a load, it squats, which gives it negative camber. And if you have the car at negative already and it gives it more negative, then you're even more negative. So we could have a flat surface after they get worn down. We put 1 positive degree in the camber. So both rears are at 1 degree of positive camber. And this is what our tires look like after a day of shredding, which I'm not mad about. We probably could adjust it a little bit more, but it could have just been the track. Because as you can see on this side, it's wore completely flat across. So it could have just been the track that we were running. I can't really think of anything else that I have left out. You know, I want to get you guys all the content you want on this car. Just kind of show you where I'm at as far as my build, and it is changing every event. Every event we find something new that we can do to the car, and that's not a bad thing. It's always an improving process. You know, some people may have a better idea than what I have, so we go back and we change it. And guys, I think that's gonna pretty much do it for this video. I hope I've covered everything that you guys could ever want to know on this car. I've covered pretty much everything that I know about this car, unless some things have been tweaked and I just don't know about it, or I may be forgetting stuff because I'm a very forgetful person. But I have ran you through pretty much everything from the outside to the inside of the car to the engine bay and underneath. If there's anything else you guys want to see, just leave a comment below and I'll answer any questions you guys have about the car. Be sure and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. The channel is blowing up and I really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Keep calm and drift on.